In this video, I want to talk about a lovely Liverpudlian, a brilliant Scotsman, and share a story that teaches us more about social well-being than you're going to believe. Welcome to What Happens Next. So welcome back if you're a regular viewer of the What Happens Next YouTube channel. We are ultimately designed to share content, share ideas, share concepts that are going to help you work out what happens next in your life. Because interestingly, I work with a lot of people who are at a crossroads in their life and they're wondering what happens next and approaching that period where it can be quite a scary time. So who am I to talk about this sort of stuff and why should you listen to me? My name's Daems. I'm a chartered financial planner and I run a business called Savello. I've done it for a number of years. And where we primarily help people is working out how much is enough financially so they can live the lives they deserve with the money they've got. But what we find is that because we're in a position of trust with our clients, we end up talking about all of the challenges we face when we're in our 50s and 60s and thinking about what happens next. And what I wanted to do with the What Happens Next project, and you can find a lot more on this channel. I'd love for you to like and subscribe if you think this is going to float your boat, for want of a better phrase. But you can find out loads more on www.whathappensnext.life. Is start talking about not only the financial challenges we face in our 50s and 60s when we're thinking about what happens next, but also some of those other challenges. If we've spent decades at work, what defines us after work? What do we do with our time when we're at that point? How do we carve a life we want with the additional time we've got if we've reached a point of financial independence and we're trying to work out what to do? And the story I want to share today alludes to that, and is about a guy called Jason. Now, give you a bit of context. I met Jason through work a few years ago, but actually what I was curious about was talking to him about kindness. Now, you might, if you know me and you've watched some of my content before, a couple of years ago, I wrote a book about kindness called The Kindness Project. So what's a chartered financial planner doing talking about kindness? Great question. Just before I was 40, I wanted to be a bit of a kind of person. I also had a teenage daughter, and I wanted to do this project where we both worked together and learnt to be whatever kind meant to us. So we interviewed over 100 people to try and work out what makes you kind and how to be kind. We learnt a lot along the journey, and certainly a lot of that is shared in the book. If you'd like to buy a copy of the book, we'll put a link in the comments below. All of the money goes to charity, and we're really proud of the money we've raised by doing that. But one of the guys that I spoke to about kindness was Jason. And Jason said to me, I've got a story about kindness that might surprise you. I was like, great, Jason, tell me that story. So Jason said, a few years ago, I was working for a big, large London financial institution, and somebody said to me, who worked for the same firm, have you heard about befriending? Now, befriending is a concept where you help somebody who's slightly older, and the way that you help is just effectively being somebody they can have a conversation with. And Jason said, I like the idea of that because an hour a week, I got to spend time with a lady who I wanted to help, and effectively the relationship started in a sort of benevolent way. It started in a way where Jason felt that he was just giving this lady an hour of his time to help her. Now, why is this so important? It's so important because loneliness has such a negative impact on our health. And there's recent research to say that loneliness has a negative health impact equivalent to 15 cigarettes a day. So Jason wanted to help this lady. Now, Jason, who was in his 40s at the time, got introduced to a lady called Delis. Now, Jason's Scottish, he lives in London. Delis lives up in Liverpool. And Jason said, I had a lovely initial chat with her. But after a few sections, I realised something, Chris. And I realised that actually I thought I was being benevolent. I thought I was just helping her. And effectively, we just turned into friends. So not only had her social well-being improved, but Jason's social well-being had improved as well by having this relationship with Delis. And Jason found this fascinating because Delis gave him a window on the world that in his normal circles he would normally never have. Delis was around in the times when the Beatles were playing the Cavern Club, and she went to see the Beatles in the Cavern Club, and Jason loved the Beatles as well, so they shared an interest in stories like that. I think the point I want to make with this video, and when we think about social well-being specifically, particularly when we're thinking about what happens next, is sometimes we think social well-being can be enhanced just by spending time with friends. And if we think about other ways we can improve our social well-being, particularly, befriending schemes that might mean we're giving back plus enhancing our social well-being, it might be a way to think about how to do some good in the world, but also how for you to feel less lonely and help somebody feel less lonely too. Hopefully that's useful, and I'll see you on the next What Happens Next video. Thank you.